You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Wednesday, October 16th. Back with my guy, Rob, on a way back Wednesday. Rob, we had extra time to marinate on the 49ers win. How lucky are we? How are we feeling about it?
I feel better than I did going into the game. That's for sure. I'm feeling a little better, I think, about the defense and some of the defensive things that I've seen, and definitely feel better about the rookies that have played and played well this year.
Yeah, they're giving me some hope that maybe some of these rookies can replace some of the vets that maybe haven't been as good as we would have liked them to be this season. But look, they're on the right track, but it's not without some injuries that the 49ers, have been dealing with this season. So Jordan Mason, obviously, with his shoulder injury, it's an AC joint injury. He's day-to-day. He was at practice, I believe Monday, or was it yesterday? This week. He was at practice with a no-contact jersey, so that seems to be a good sign that he's practicing at all. Malik Mustafa, low ankle injury, was a do-not-practice. Jordan Elliott didn't practice. Our second kicker, Matthew Wright, not practicing. Jake Moody, still not practicing. Ricky Pearsall, though, practicing. We like that. I mean, I like to end on a silver lining, so that's Ricky Pearsall right there. But yeah, I mean, injuries continue to be a thing for the 49ers. I think the biggest one here, assuming that Mason is going to be fine for Sunday, I think the other big one is Mustafa, because he was doing pretty well, and the 49ers pretty thin at that position already with Hufanga being out. So what I want to talk about today, Rob, is potential trade targets for the 49ers, and realistic ones. I want to talk about realistic ones because, as happens every year, every offseason, even in the season leading up to the trade deadline, 49er fan fiction runs rampant, and people are talking about Maxx Crosby being a possibility for the 49ers. Oh, the 49ers should trade for Maxx Crosby. Well, that would require the Raiders wanting to trade away Maxx Crosby. And everyone tells me, Steph, well, the Raiders are sellers. They just traded away Davante Adams. Davante Adams was already disgruntled, so that's part of the reason. He's been disgruntled since last season, so this was kind of imminent. And I don't think them trading him away is an indication that they're automatically sellers. And if they are sellers, why in the world would they be trading their best franchise player that they have right now? Tell me that. So I'm not buying this Maxx Crosby thing. I'm not going to entertain it. And I am slowly but surely popping the balloons of every 49er fan that's holding the Maxx Crosby balloon and thinking that this is a real possibility for them.
I call my Thursday co-host on the Gold Standard Network the human wet blanket. That's Levin Black. But you are contending for that title right now, Steph. You are just stomping on the dreams of every 49ers fan. And I think it partially comes from the fact that he has an incredibly tradable contract. The new team that acquired Maxx Crosby would only have to pay him $16.8 million guaranteed, $23.1 next year, and $19.7 the year after that. And 2025 and 2026 are not guaranteed. So that was part of it. I think people saw the Adams trade and said, hey, maybe they are stripping it down. And if not, give them a call and see what's up. Unfortunately, Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, came out today and said, quote, it's not coming from any sources. It's not coming from anything. My basic thing is to never answer all that stuff because otherwise you get trapped in this black hole. It's just not happening. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that he won't get traded, but it's a pretty strong statement from Mark Davis. I'd pick up the phone. If I'm John Lynch, you pick up the phone, right?
Sure.
This is the team that asked about trading for Tom Brady. So they're going to do their due diligence.
If the 49ers shot their shot and called up the Raiders, I wouldn't be mad nor surprised. I'm just saying that this is not happening. I just need people to know that because I feel like as a content creator, I've seen other content creators put it up as a possibility, and I think that's disingenuous to the reality. And like Mark Davis said, this is not rooted in any reality. No one has even mentioned this as a reputable thing that can happen. Like, there's been no report suggesting that the Raiders may actually trade Maxx Crosby. So that's the one that I don't want to talk about today, aside from, this rant that we just had.
Can I make a really quick argument, though?
Sure.
Are the Raiders close to contending for anything? No, they are not close to contending for anything. They still have the Chiefs in their division, so they're not really close to contending. Are they going to be close next year to contending for anything? No.
Probably not.
Are they going to be close the year after that? No. Maxx Crosby's 27. So, your timeline for him and your contention window doesn't really match up. I'm just saying it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world if they were like, hey, we can get a bunch of picks, maybe multiple first-round picks for a stud pass rusher in his prime. If I were a Raider fan, I wouldn't automatically say he's untouchable, hands down, no way. That's all. That's my only argument.
He is their Nick Bosa, though. And I think us 49er fans, if we were in the same situation, would not be wanting to trade away Nick Bosa. So
the Niners were in the Super Bowl last year. The Raiders were.
I know. I'm just saying, let's just put ourselves in their shoes for a second and find the equivalent to us, which would be Nick Bosa. I'm just saying, I don't think that we'd be wanting to trade him away. I don't think Raider fans are wanting to trade him away, and I don't think that org is trying to trade Maxx Crosby away. Would they be smart to consider it? Sure, because as you pointed out, bad record. They're 2-4 right now. They're at the bottom of their division. They're not going to be contending anytime soon. Still no quarterback. Yeah, but they're not a smart franchise. That's part of the reason why they are where they are.
Yeah, that's part of it. They're idiots. Come on. I'm just saying, John Lynch, I'm sure he picked up the phone. I'm sure he did.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. And I want him to, that John Lynch, Pano gift didn't come out of thin air. It came from him, picking up the phone and making moves like this one. We know he doesn't shy away from that and shooting his shot. I love it. I'm not entertaining the idea unless there was any reputable report that says it's a possibility. So in the meantime, not going to be talking about it, aside from the last 5 minutes that we just talked about. But Rob, let's look at the positions of need for the 49ers, right? So I'm thinking safety, interior of the defensive line, edge, linebacker, running back. Do you have any objections to any of these, or in addition to any of these?
No objections, for sure. I put everybody on that list. If you wanted to add corner, maybe, depending on the Niners' confidence in Bernardo Green, which I don't know what it is right now. Hopefully he gets more reps. If Mooney Ward is significantly hurt or just, tries to come back, nagging injury, that type of thing, I would put corner on the list. The trade deadline is 3 weeks from yesterday. So you've got a little time to sort of figure out what you need. Do they inquire about a Denzel Ward possibly from Cleveland? Could that be something that's on their radar? That would be the only one that I would maybe put on the list. But other than that, I think you've got it.
It seems like Mooney Ward did return to practice this week, at least in the bonus practice that the team had on Monday. So we'll wait to hear more about his availability on Wednesday when the team practices later today. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if something is up with his knee that's far bigger than what they are suggesting, which they tend to do a lot, that definitely could be a possibility for the 49ers. But let's look at what we have listed here. So safety, currently 2 healthy safeties, Hufanga and Mustafa hurt. Again, we don't know really the severity of Mustafa's injury, but I think with the fact that they said low ankle injury, I'm just going to put 2 and 2 together and say that he has a low ankle sprain. Not quite as bad as high ankle sprain, but that could very well keep him out this week. The 49ers also have 2 safeties on their practice squad, Adrian Amos, who they just signed this week, and Jalen Mahoney, the rookie. So, this depth isn't inspiring to me. George Odom played well, so, I'd hear some
Did he though?
case for, I mean, he did fine. I'd hear some cases for, hey, maybe safety is not that big of a need, but I think the case that I'm laying out here with some of the injuries definitely needs to be considered, right?
Oh, absolutely. Safety is complete area of need. I don't think George Odom played well. I think that you could see a clear drop off from him. And look, he's the third safety. You're talking about, he played well for a third safety, but you need somebody to play well. The DK Metcalf touchdown that was called back was on George Odom. DK, they run that play in the game previously where DK does a little fake, like he's going to be doing a deep dig over the middle, and then he just takes it vertical. And Mustafa was on top of it, and then they did it on George Odom, and they got the touchdown. Now it was called back due to the illegal shift. But it's just those 1 or 2 plays like that, right? Where your third string safety doesn't have a ton of experience there. He's just not the same caliber of player that your other guys are. And luckily, it didn't hurt the Niners in that game because of the penalty, but it could have. So I think safety is a definite need.
Yeah, you don't want a game decided by poor safety play, and the 49ers are really towing that line right now with just some of the injuries that they have. Technic Sheik asked, do you think the signing of Adrian Amos addresses safety depth, or do you think they're still looking? I would say they're still looking. I don't think Amos moves the needle at all. I think that's more so for depth and just insurance in case Mustafa can't go this week. But I would absolutely still be looking if I'm the 49ers. So safety, definitely a possibility. On that same token, the interior of the defensive line has been hit with some injuries as well. Jordan Elliott has been, the latest. He missed last week with his injury. And right now they have 3 healthy interior defensive lineman with Jordan Elliott hurt. He could return this week. He was practicing. So we'll see, but still pretty thin at the position, I would say. They got Evan Anderson and T.Y. McGill on the practice squad. Anderson has been great though. And he hasn't had that many, reps, but when he's been out there, I think he's good. I almost feel like, Rob, don't hate me for saying this, but I feel like, Hardgrave might have been the clogging up of the interior. And I don't mean that in a good way. I mean, he was hiding kind of the depth that was behind him. And we're finally starting to see some of these guys, and they're not that bad. Some of these guys as a unit, as a rotation, performing maybe better than Hardgrave was.
I want to see them do it against a really good team. And the Niners haven't had many of those on their schedule. So I'm going to reserve judgment. They've certainly been better than I thought they were going to be. I'll say that for sure. I did not expect what we've seen so far. So I want to be fair to them. But also, if you want to get where the Niners are going, you're going to have to beat good teams. So let's see them against the upper echelon teams. And I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm just saying I want to see it before I judge.
Yeah, and bottleneck was the word I was looking for to describe Javon Hardgrave. He kind of just feels like he was the bottleneck of that defensive line, and now we're seeing where the depth. And so far, it's been good. But yeah, definitely fair to want to see more before making that decision for the 49ers. The other position would be edge. It just always feels like the 49ers could have more. I think every team feels like they could have better edge depth. And I think we know there's a huge drop-off after Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd. Should anything happen to those two, the 49ers would be in a world of hurt. And they're not the only team, right? I think a lot of teams would be under this category. But still, I think the 49ers should look to improve that area if they could. And there are some intriguing options out there. So they should shoot their shot there.
You can never have enough good edge rushers. There's never been a team ever that's you know what? We don't need anybody else that can rush the passer. Never, ever, 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 ever. It has never happened. What about Trey Hendrickson from Cincinnati?
Do you think they're sellers?
I don't know. But again,
I like him.
I like GMs that go after people that aren't on the market. Right. I feel like sometimes people are like, well, these are the guys that are out there. It's like, well, trade for somebody that's not out there. Like you can call any team and ask about any player. If the offer has to be better, but that's the cost of doing business. I'm just saying, look, we know Detroit is going to be going nuts looking for a pass rusher, right? Because they lost Hutchinson and hopefully he gets well. That was a horrible, horrible injury. But they're going to be in overdrive. And look, they got nothing to lose, right? They've been a laughing stock for decades. They finally have their moment. They're absolutely in a Super Bowl window. They don't care about next year's first round pick. That's all they've had to look forward to in Detroit for 50 years. Like they're going to move some assets to get somebody. So if you're the Niners, you've got to either beat their offer for whoever you're going after, or you got to go after somebody that maybe they don't even have their eye on. It's that type of thing.
Hendrickson, 29 years old, Bengals 2-4 right now. They're third in their division. So I wouldn't say it's outside the realm of possibility. So yeah, it definitely not one I had thought about, but why not, right? If the Lions are going to be aggressive looking for a Hutchinson replacement, I mean, why not join in on those calls too and see if you can get lucky, right? So I wouldn't be mad at that one. I like that one. Linebacker, I think, is another good one because Devondre Campbell is just not good. DFF is hurt and also not very good. So my question is, and I think this is the question the 49ers probably asking themselves too. We do have other linebackers aside from Campbell and DFF. The only problem is they're all young. D. Winters, Jalen Graham, Tatum Bethune. They haven't had a lot of experience. Are you ready to trust that? Because if you're not, then like linebacker becomes an easy trade target, in my opinion. But if you are ready to trust those players, then you can focus elsewhere for a trade target, right? So we'll see what the 49ers decide. But what would you be doing, Rob, in this instance?
I would be telling Devondre Campbell to grab some pine for the rest of the year unless somebody gets hurt. Look, you've got 3 weeks till the deadline, right? Why not throw Winters in there, Graham, throw them all in there for the next 3 weeks and evaluate. Can we trust these guys? Are they improving week to week? Because that's a factor too, right? It's not necessarily about how they play immediately after getting in the lineup. It's are they improving? Are they learning from their mistakes? Because the bad plays are still happening with Devondre Campbell. So if your big worry is we can't put the young guys in because they might give up some plays, well, those are happening already. So you have nothing to lose in that spot. I would throw them in there and see how they do over the next 3 weeks. And if nothing changes and the plays keep happening, then maybe you go out and you make a move right before the deadline. But if they look good, then you save yourself from having to give up those assets and you begin to develop some of the young guys on your team. I mean, hell, they were drafted for a reason. They weren't drafted not to play, so I think you got to use these next 3 weeks as sort of your litmus test.
Yeah. And we've seen already how using some of these younger guys, again, like out of need because of some injuries, has paid off. So why not, try with some of these linebackers too? Bernardo Green and Mustafa have improved with each game that they've been in, all their snaps. I think Winters, Graham, Bethune could realistically do the same. So yeah, I think these next few weeks, definitely something they're going to keep an eye on. Definitely something I think they're going to experiment with and give those guys some extra opportunity. It's already started. I mean, if you guys haven't noticed, it has already started. And those guys are getting on the field. So hopefully they do well so the 49ers can move on from Devondre Campbell and maybe even DFF as well when he is healthy. But yeah, definitely need to, gather a little more information in these coming weeks before saying, let's make a trade for a linebacker. And then finally, running back, I think this is another one where you do kind of have to gather information, and this hinges a lot on Christian McCaffrey and the information that the 49ers are getting on his eventual availability. Like, is he going to play this season or not? If not, I think you absolutely need to consider making a trade because Jordan Mason is hurt right now. And like I said, he could play week 7. Like, it seems like he's trending in that direction. But if Mason is hurt, you only have 2 healthy running backs, Patrick Taylor and Isaac Guerrero, right? And look, Isaac Guerrero, I think, has improved with his snaps as well. So maybe they feel good about that. But again, it goes back to the question, do you trust him enough? And obviously, even if you do, there's a huge drop-off from Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerrero, at least right now. So that one's a little dicey, So I think running back, and you could probably get a running back for super cheap, in any trade. I'd consider it.
I'm worried that Mason, maybe he'll be able to come back, but just his running style is so physical. His shoulder is hurt, right? It is hurt, clearly. He's just going to, how is it going to heal up if he keeps smashing it into people running at him as fast as possible? So I'm worried that even if he comes back, I don't know if he's going to be able to finish games. So it's a definite need for them. And I'm not with you on the Guerrero thing. Like, I do not understand people who are like, oh yeah, Isaac Guerrero is coming along. Why? Because he had one run against the Seahawks when they loaded up to stop the box and he broke through the line. Like, they could not run the ball in the second half without Jordan Mason. They averaged 2.78 yards per carry in the second half. That's Taylor and Guerrero without counting that 76-yard play. Now, it happened. I get it. But, like, if you're going against the Chiefs, you need to stay out of second and third and long. That is exactly how they failed against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You need to be able to gain positive yards on first down and second down with running the football. And I'm sorry, Guerrero and Patrick Taylor are not it for me. And I don't like depending on Christian McCaffrey's bulky Achilles tendons. Like, you can't just assume that he's going to come back and stick around either. So they should add a running back somehow. Free agent, trade, whatever. They need one more.
Did you say bulky Achilles tendons or bulky, as in sharp bulky?
Bulky, B-A-L-K-Y. They are bulky.
Because both would have made sense.
They are bulky Achilles tendons because they're both hurt and they're on the team. So that's a Trent Bulky special.
Yeah, exactly. I think running back definitely something that needs to be considered. And I like it because it's one of those positions that doesn't necessarily mean you can't target another position. Like, if we're talking edge, you're probably going to use up all your resources on targeting that edge. And you probably won't be able to target another position. Running back, I think you can afford to get a running back for super cheap, maybe like a day 3 pick, and also get another position probably, right? So I like that. I'm not counting it out. Definitely concerned about Jordan Mason with that shoulder injury, even if he does play this week, like you said. And then also, it's still no guarantee that Christian McCaffrey comes back this season. So I think you definitely have to address it if you could. And there's ways that the 49ers can do that, right? Let's look at some realistic options for trade. The keyword is realistic. For safety, Andre Sisco, he's a safety from the Jags. Jags absolutely need to be sellers. They're 1-5. So definitely could be an option for the 49ers. Interior defensive line, DJ Jones, like it makes too much sense, right? This is one we talked about in the offseason too. It just felt like the Broncos weren't ready to part ways with him quite yet. Maybe at this point, if they want to be sellers, they would take a gander with that one. I think the 49ers should as well. Edge is where there's a lot of options, Rob. So, and some may be lofty, like Hassan Reddick, like Mason Crosby.
I don't like the juju. I don't want the juju of Hassan Reddick. I don't want him in the locker room with Brock Purdy. There's just no. He's the guy that hit Brock that blew out his elbow. I don't like it. He hasn't played football all year. Is he going to need a month to get into football shape? I don't like it. Nope. I'm out of the Hassan Reddick business. And he stinks against the run.
I respect that. Obviously, I wouldn't be concerned about him being in the same locker room as Brock Purdy. I don't think there's bad blood there. Brock's too nice of a guy, and I don't think he faults.
No, it's not that. It's just like it's bad juju, man.
Bad juju. I think it would get rid of the juju. I think it would. You breathe new life into that juju.
I don't like it. I don't want him anywhere near my quarterback.
Fair, and definitely could say that does he even like football? I mean, because he's gone this long without playing, and he's made it real tough. I honestly don't even know what's going on, what the holdup was or has been with the Jets. A very weird situation all around. So if you want to avoid that altogether, you avoid Hassan Reddick. I would absolutely not be mad at that. There are other options as well that are, I think, a little more realistic. Calais Campbell, who's on the Dolphins right now. The Dolphins, I mean, you're not fighting for anything. I'm sorry, but it's just not happening this season with Tua still on IR. Azeez Ojulari from Giants. He's only 24, Rob. I like this one. He's not even a starter for them, and I think that's even better because you bring someone like him in, you could still start Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd, and you have him come in as, a rotational guy, and he's good. He's very effective. I think if the Giants decide that they want to be sellers, and, I think they should, hey, Ojulari could definitely be an option, I think, for the 49ers. I'd also throw in Josh Uche from the Patriots. He took less money to play with the Patriots this season, probably regretting that right now. And the Patriots should be sellers, so that could be an option. Darius Smith, the Browns already showing that they might be sellers because they traded away Amari Cooper. Darius Smith could be a trade target as well. I know there's probably some other names, Rob. You mentioned Trey Hendrickson, that I like that option as well. Just why not, right? Any other names that tickle your fancy?
Oh, I think those are pretty good. Uche would be interesting. Azeez Ojulari would be interesting. Darius Smith, yeah, he'd be sort of like a tier below. They got to do something. I want to see them just do something. Even if it's a trade, sometimes these trades end up working out. Remember the Jordan Willis trade? And everybody was like, who's Jordan Willis? Nobody cares. He played really well for them. He ended up having the block punt in the playoffs against the Packers. It doesn't necessarily have to be a name that we know and love. It's just got to be somebody that contributes. And the Niners, most of the time, have been able to find those guys. They kind of whiffed on some of their free agent choices recently, but a lot of the times in this regime, they've been able to find those contributors. Just get somebody to help a little bit. They don't need a ton of help, but they need something.
Yeah, and I would even add that, they don't necessarily even need to, target someone who is a selling team. Think about the offseason trade they made for Malik Collins. He was from the Texans, cost next to nothing, and it's working out for them right now, right? So they can make a trade similar to that too. I don't think, you always have to think inside the box at all times when it comes to these trades. So yeah, I would imagine the 49ers not just thinking about teams that are, seasons are over. They're also probably looking at contenders too and thinking, hey, who are you not using, that we could use? So yeah, could be something there, but edge, yeah, definitely a possibility. Linebacker, there's not a lot of linebackers, I think, that are one good. I listed EJ Speed here, who's on the Colts. He's not great. I just don't see linebacker being something that the 49ers are going to be able to get good value for in a trade. But who knows? There's also those names of, no-name guys, right? Guys who the 49ers maybe have on their radar that no one else knows about. I mean, they do a pretty good job at drafting those guys and developing them. So maybe they have some guys in mind, but I don't know a lot of names right now in the linebacker realm.
Did not even know EJ Speed was an NFL player. Just at this point, just go with the young guys. What their chances?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Anybody else you're going to bring in from the outside?
I'm with you. And I think even if you were to trade for a linebacker, it'd probably be for a young linebacker too, that, maybe the team that drafted him just has too many I don't know. But that'd kind of be my choice too. Just go with the young guys, see what they can do. Now, running back, 49er fans always want to trade for players that they used to have, which is so funny to me. It's just silly. The Vikings just did that with Cam Akers, actually. I thought that was funny. DJ Jones, obviously a possibility. We already mentioned, running back, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr. could also be possibilities, just because, as we mentioned, the Dolphins could be sellers. Like, their season's pretty much over. One that Jay mentioned yesterday on Bully Ball, Khalil Herbert. I like that one. I think that could very much be a real possibility. And as we mentioned, running back is one of those positions you could probably get for a day 3 pick. And now look back, there's also some options that they wouldn't even need to trade for out on the market. And Matt Breida, who they had in the offseason, and also Jerick McKinnon, that Jay also mentioned. And Jay will also always mention Jerick McKinnon. But, I mean, he knows the scheme, right? I mean, he can be a decent fill-in.
What's he doing now?
Nothing.
Nothing. For a reason. No thanks, Jet. You weren't good when you were here. I don't have any interest in you 5 years later. Half a decade. No. Get out. No thank you. Raheem Mostert, maybe. He's run for less than 4 yards a carry this year. Are we sure? Like, again, you're not getting Raheem Mostert from 2019, right? I don't know. Okay, Khalil Herbert, that's fine. But I'm not like the idea that the Niners are just going to trade for this guy and that's going to patch this hole. They're going to trade for this guy and that's going to patch this hole. And okay, work done, undefeated, going to the Super Bowl. No, man. These guys are available for a reason. They all have warts. I'm just not in love with any of the options. I'm cranky today.
When are you not cranky, Rob? When are you not? Say those things about McKinnon to Jay's face. All right, I dare you.
Nobody wants this guy. Everybody in the league had the option to sign Jerick McKinnon. They were like, you know what? We think we're better without him. But sure, bring him in.
All right. Well, now you're just being pretentious with the running backs. But no, it's just an idea. It's just an idea, Rob. You need depth. Personally, I would bring back Matt Breida, but the 49ers haven't done it yet. So, clearly they feel good about their depth, at least to this point. So I'd be surprised if they traded for a running back. I think they like Patrick Taylor. He did okay. What'd you think about Patrick Taylor? Because I know you're not a fan of Isaac Guerrero. Fine. I think Isaac Guerrero is going to get better with more snaps. I feel like his vision is getting better. So that's good. He's following his blocks. You need to do that. That's the first step, right? Patrick Taylor is the guy behind him, right? He got some snaps against the Seahawks. Did you think he was any better?
No. I think he's a guy. I think he's block it for 4, he'll get you 4. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's a fourth, fifth running back on the team. That's generally what you can expect from those guys. If your run blocking is super good, he'll be fine for you. He'll get what's blocked. If you're looking for a guy that can, make something out of nothing, I don't think Patrick Taylor is your guy. I don't mean to just dump on everybody, but he is what he is.
All right. Yeah. So we'll see what the 49ers do with some of these positions, if they feel like it's a need enough to conjure up a trade or not. But yeah, they have a couple weeks to decide, and I think they're going to be gathering some information in the meantime to decide who they're going to be picking or what position, if they even pick a position at all to trade for. But Rob, the 49ers play a very important game on Sunday, so let's talk about that. But first, let's take it way back for our Way Back Wednesday segment, looking back at the 49ers and Chiefs history. They've played each other 16 times, only 16 times. That feels like not a lot, including the postseason. And the 49ers still hold the all-time edge at 9-7. But we know the Chiefs have won the last 4, which is why we're gathered here today, so concerned about this game on Sunday. The last 5 matchups for these two teams. All right, so the first Super Bowl, 25-22. Oh, wait, this is going in backwards order. I'm looking at a graphic here. 38-27 in September 23rd, 2018. Patrick Mahomes was already the quarterback. Game
where he got hurt.
The Jimmy G game. Yeah, we got absolutely plastered in that game. But I'm surprised they put up 27 points.
You know what's crazy about that game is Jimmy G gets hurt. CJ Beathard comes in and throws a touchdown that's going to make it a 1-score game. But they called a bogus pass interference penalty on Kyle Juszczyk. It got called back. The Niners didn't score, and the game ended up being a blowout.
How does he remember these things? Like I'm always amazed by his memory. All right, and then February 2nd, the other Super Bowl, 31-20. October 23rd, 2022, 44-23. The lasting memory we have, 25-22, Super Bowl 53. These so the concerning thing for me, Rob, is that a lot of these scores aren't even close. Like the last Super Bowl, like February's game was the closest that the 49ers have been to even beating the Chiefs, right? And that, I think, is the more damning thing that from all of these. It's like you're losing by more than a score most of the time.
To beat the Chiefs, this era of Chiefs football, you got to beat the best offensive coach of all time. You've got to beat the best defensive coordinator in the league right now. You've got to beat the best quarterback in the league right now. And you got to beat all three of those at the same time. That's why the Chiefs always freaking win. It's not an accident, okay? They're really good. You have to play a complete game against them. You have to be almost perfect to beat them. Because if it's close at all, Mahomes is going to figure out a way to win it in the end. He does it constantly, not just against the 49ers. People like to act like that's the case. He does it against everybody.
There's a reason that the Chiefs are 5-0 right now. And, you know, to Rob's point, it is exactly that. So let's look back at the last time that the 49ers beat the Chiefs. It was back in October 5th, 2014. All right. And this one's an interesting one because Alex Smith was the Chiefs quarterback. Colin Kaepernick was the 49ers quarterback. And this one came down to the fourth quarter where the 49ers shut out the Chiefs and 49ers scored 6, 3 of which came from a drive that included a very gutsy fake punt on a 4th and 1 on their own 29. And that helped give the 49ers a boost the rest of the way, pretty much. Kaepernick threw for 201 yards and a touchdown, and Frank Gore ran for 107 yards. And they did it without Vernon Davis, who missed that game. So, yeah, Rob, what can you tell us about this game? Because I know you have some tidbits on it.
5 field goals from Phil Dawson in the game. How about that? 49ers going field goal special. That's the Kyle Shanahan special right there. And he was having some trouble earlier that year also. I just like, it seems like the Niners and Chiefs always have weird quarterback matchup games. Like that was the Alex Smith revenge game, or at least we thought it was going to be the Alex Smith revenge game. I thought you were going to go Niners Chiefs in 1994, Steph, when Joe Montana played Steve Young after they traded Montana to the Chiefs. And the crazy thing about that game is they stuck it at 1 o'clock Eastern. They put it in the early window. You had Joe Montana going up against Steve Young, and it wasn't in prime time. That just tells you how it was just a different league back then for sure. But no, look, this was had to be kind of justification for Jim Harbaugh, right? Like he went with Kaepernick. They got to the Super Bowl. They didn't win it, but they got there. They went back to the NFC Championship game. Then he directly plays Alex Smith, and Colin Kaepernick got the win.
It feels almost a little symbolic that the 49ers won that game, like in large part because of the fake punt that they did early in the fourth quarter. Rob, with how the 49ers special teams has been playing right now, and to put it nicely, they've been, dog crap. Brian Schneider really needs to conjure something up for this one, doesn't he?
Or just don't be terrible. Like just
that's the problem though, Rob. Like that's what Kyle tells him to do. Just don't be terrible. And then if you're just trying to not be at this point, they're trying to just not be good and just be okay. And that's why they're bad, in my opinion. Like that bothers me so much.
Right. They always love to talk about the standard here. Well, apparently it doesn't apply to special teams because all they want to be on special teams is average. Like, no, try to be excellent in all things that you do. Why would you ever want anything less than that? It's such a bizarre thing. One, for Kyle Shanahan to think, but two, to say out loud multiple times. Like somebody should have told him after the first one, like, Kyle, got to stop saying that. Like, how do you think Fred Warner feels when they're like, Fred, you have to be all world every play, every game, all the time, or this defense doesn't have a chance. But everybody on special teams just don't be a dumpster fire. And they can't even live up to that, by the way. It's bizarre. The 49ers are giving up almost 34 yards per kickoff return. It's 30th in the league. And now they have a kicker that can't kick it into the end zone because Jake Moody is hurt. Like, you want to talk about how they can win this game against the Chiefs? It's the little plays on the margin like that. It's not giving Patrick Mahomes an extra 15, 20 yards of field position when he gets the ball, because the Chiefs offense has still struggled to move the ball. Like, it's the little things. When I talk about having to play perfect, it's stuff like that that makes the difference.
And look, like, I always say that well, it's not my saying, but the saying that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I feel like the 49ers do that quite a bit, right? Especially in their deep playoff runs or Super Bowl appearances. And you faced the Chiefs twice now in recent years, and it's just the same kind of outcome and the same kind of game where you go up early on this team. And in a way, it's exactly how every game has looked like this season so far. You go up early because you are the better team. You put up points and you can't finish. You know, like that's been the theme of this season for the 49ers. It was almost the theme again on Thursday against the Seahawks. They found a way to finish. Can they finish against this Chiefs team? Can they do something different to put them over the edge against this team? That's what we need to see. Like, obviously, we know the 49ers have not been perfect this season. There's still a lot of issues, a lot of things to clean up. They need to figure out the red zone issues, or the defense needs to create turnovers, because that's how the 49ers were able to, get over the Seahawks. They were still struggling in the red zone, but their defense was creating turnovers that, made it so the Seahawks weren't able to put any more points up. So that's what they need to do with the Chiefs as well. Easier said than done. So if they feel like they're going to have some issues creating turnovers against Patrick Mahomes and this offense, well, then this offense better score some points. But Rob, what do you think this team needs to do differently to come away with a win on Sunday?
I feel like I can tell you exactly how this game is going to go. Niners are going to be up by 10 points. It's going to be the third quarter.
No, not 10.
It's going to be the third quarter, and the Niners are going to be motoring down the field. 3 plays across the 50-yard line. Awesome. It's going to be 3rd and 3 from like the 40. Niners, they're the Chiefs' 40-yard line, and Brock's going to throw incomplete. It's going to be 4th and 3. And the game is going to come down to, one, can Kyle Shanahan actually go for it instead of trying to kick a long field goal with a kicker whose kicks honestly haven't looked that great? They've looked a little low to me. And even if it goes through, you go up 13 points. Or does he decide to go for it, convert, and the Niners would have to go and stick it in the end zone on that possession? But I really think the game is going to swing on that, because it just happens so often. And what it does is it just opens the door to chaos, right? You kick that field goal, you go up 13 points. That's great if everything's going to go your way the rest of the game. But if you get, let's say, let me think of a play off the top of my head. I don't know, a punt that actually deflects off of somebody's leg, and the Chiefs recover and they get a short field and score a touchdown, all of a sudden it's a 1-score game. Like, you have to take control of the game. You can't let the game come to you. You have to take it against elite competition, especially when you don't have the better quarterback and you don't have the better team. You have to take it. And the 49ers never do. They always leave it for somebody else to take. That's the thing that has to change, Steph.
I couldn't have said that better myself. And I think that is like the huge overarching issue. Like, obviously, there's a lot of small things that contributed to the 49ers losing to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl and all the times that they've played. But it really comes down to the not finishing thing. And you don't finish because you're not aggressive. So you need to keep your foot on the pedal. You can't just say, we got him right where we want him, because those are the famous last words when you're going up against Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and this team. So I think the 49ers, they're like, it's going to come down to time management, like play clock management, and some ballsy decision that is going to have to be made. And look, if you're too scared to make that decision in the Super Bowl, make it in the regular season game, because maybe that'll get, if it works, that's going to give you the confidence to then make that decision in the Super Bowl later, right?
What are you worried about? Losing to the Chiefs for a 5th straight time? I mean, Jesus, how many times do you have to get burned by this strategy before you change your mind? Like, really? How many times do we have to see it?
That's what we're saying, right? That's what we're saying. Like, it's insanity. It's insanity because Kyle Shanahan does the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, expecting that everything will go right the rest of the way. It'll go exactly like I planned, and we'll win this game. That's not football, and definitely not when you're going up against a team that is aggressive and will take the game out of your hands.
All the things that Kyle Shanahan is not good at are all the things the Niners are going to have to do this year to win. Because they used to be so much more talented than everybody else that it didn't matter if Kyle kicked the field goal in that spot because the defense was going to stop you. They don't have that defense this year. They don't have that offense this year, frankly. All the things that Kyle struggles with, timeout management, game management, 4th down decisions, special teams, all those are going to be more important than ever this year. And it has to be on Kyle. You have to recognize that if you're Kyle Shanahan. You have to. Otherwise, you're just blind and you're making it harder for your team to win. And that's got to stop. Finally, after 8 years.
Take us out of our misery, please. Hopefully this game doesn't go into overtime. Let's just say that. But yeah, Rob, appreciate the conversation. It's been a fun one today. Everyone that tuned in the live chat, thank you so much for keeping it popping. Everyone that liked this video, thank you. If you haven't liked this video, make sure you do right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that. Not just my channel, but Rob's as well, Gold Standard Network. You know, we do Bully Ball there every Tuesday, and he also has a great slate of shows throughout the week. As I will as well, Thursday, back with Monica for Trash Talk Thursday, and then Friday, back to our regular scheduled preview show with KP. So make sure you guys tune into that as well. But for now, from me, from Rob, have a good rest of your Wednesday, folks. Peace.